It argues that among low-income groups in the United States, white Americans report higher levels of unhappiness and stress than poor minorities.
So if you've been told you're superior and that throughout the entire time of this country, you have been given, and your family and your forefathers have been given every opportunity to succeed, and you're in shit.
This bootstrap ideology, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. The only people in this country that can do that legitimately are white people.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the systemic barriers that every single other person has.
This is an Unsolicited Perspectives podcast, After Hours Uncensored sneak peek.
It came out in June 11 of 2016, and it's called Why Are So Many White Americans So Unhappy? And basically the article says, it argues that among low-income groups in the United States, white Americans report higher levels of unhappiness and stress than poor minorities. So this is just, it doesn't even matter your socioeconomic status. It's just white Americans are reporting higher levels of unhappiness and stress. And it highlights that traditional measures of well-being, right? Like you were saying, like material things, like your income or your employment, don't fully explain these disparities, right? It's also like social, it's cultural, it's identity factors. All of these things matter. Poverty itself, or just like your income itself, it doesn't even impact all racial and ethnic groups the same way. Like in context of the United States, there's always, intersectionality, right? The interaction between race and class and gender and identity and expectations and your status in society. All of those things play a role. So the article brings up that when people perceive downward mobility, status loss, or feel they have fewer opportunities in earlier generations, their well-being suffers, even if their absolute material conditions are similar to other groups. So it's basically just saying, there's more nuance to happiness. And like, even though you have, for example, our current government that controls literally all aspects of our government, the executive, legislative, and the judicial, and they're still so unhappy. They're rounding up people like gangbusters, like it's like nobody, like it's going out of style, right? They're constantly hiring and recruiting for ICE. He is actually destroying living history in terms of the White House to build a ballroom that who is going to come to? And it's probably going to be just as tacky as the rest of his redecorations. And this is the most miserable human being because the only thing he can talk about is how he's been done wrong.
Well, you know where that comes from, right?
They expect not just power, status, money, all these things. They expect happiness to come with it, and it doesn't.
Well, yes. I'm not disagreeing with that. What I will also say is, when you're trying to get to home plate and you're already on second and third base and you can't get there, that's going to frustrate the hell out of you, right? So if you've been told you're superior and that throughout the entire time of this country, you have been given, and your family and your forefathers have been given every opportunity to succeed, and you're in shit. I'm talking about poor white people who have a angst against everybody else, right?
Yeah.
That would really bother you. Because you've been given every opportunity. So when white people are like, I grew up poor, I was like, and what does that say about your fucking family? Because
right.
We didn't have anything. You didn't have a government and laws specifically restricting you to achieve. You didn't achieve, your family didn't achieve because they're not exceptional. And oh, by the way,
or they lacked motivation.
Right. And oh, by the way, that sucks for you because you've been told if you work hard, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve. And it sucks to find out.
Yeah.
There was nothing worse in my life, that's not true. That is a huge exaggeration. But at the time,
That is immediately it
yeah,
felt like
just
hyperbolic
immediately.
immediately.
But
Yeah. Okay.
at the time, there was nothing worse in my life when I moved out of this small area in Lynchburg, Virginia, where I was the man in basketball, and entered into this pool in Washington, D.C., and found out, like, oh, I'm good, but I'm not the best. Ain't nobody
Yeah.
checking for me
Yeah.
like I was when I was a big fish in a small pond.
A
Eye-opening,
small pond.
right? That's eye-opening.
Yeah.
And it was to
Yeah.
find out, oh,
Yeah.
you're not quite as good as you think you are. And so when people find out, oh, you're not quite as smart as you think you are, you're not quite as good as that thing as you think you are, and that the only reason why you got here is because of disadvantages to other people, yeah, that would really,
Yeah.
that would piss some people off because it's an attack on their pride.
That would piss me off. Yeah, that would piss me off. But the thing I find so interesting about everything that you're saying is that this bootstrap ideology, right? Of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. The only people in this country that can do that legitimately are white people.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the systemic barriers that every single other person has. And so when I see a homeless white, boy, it breaks my heart because it's like that was such you had such an opportunity because you're white in America. And what have you done? What have you
Unaccomplished
done?
potential.
Thank you for watching this After Hours Uncensored sneak peek. Check out more shows on our Patreon page and YouTube membership.